So today I want to talk about taking action. Recently, about a month ago, I joined a group coaching conversation, and the coach that was leading it was using this tool where he would say, "Why do you want that?" So, and he would apply this to everyone. So if you had cancer, he would say, "Okay, why do you want that?" So it's to turn us back to what stories are we holding on to that the outcome that we're currently facing that may not be desired and usually isn't desired, how that relates to these limiting beliefs that we have of ourselves or these old stories that don't serve us. And I said the situation which I wanted to overcome was having coaching clients. So I would like to have more coaching clients. And he said, "Okay, why do you want that?" And I couldn't really work it out. And then he suggested, maybe it's because if you did have coaching clients, then you might be rubbish. It might show you that you're a terrible coach. And that resonated a lot with me. And he went on to say the idea that we're actually most of the time trying to get approval from one person in our lives. There's one person that we're doing everything that we do for. And all of our lack of self-belief comes from the belief that that person doesn't really have us. And I imagine for a lot of men, that's probably their dad. And so what popped up in my mind was the idea of speaking with my dad and asking him if I thought I was wasting my time. Because if I didn't believe in this path that I was on, maybe that was because I didn't believe that he would believe, if this makes any sense. So immediately after getting off this coaching call, I had the conversation with my dad, and I slowly led him towards the question that I ultimately wanted to ask him, which was, do you think I'm kidding myself? Do you think I'm wasting my time with what I'm doing? And his response was amazing. He said, absolutely not. It's totally in alignment with who you are. And considering what you've gone through, I think you could be of tremendous help to other people. Now, I'm paraphrasing. My dad doesn't speak quite like that, but that was his sentiment. That was essentially the idea of what he said. And it was amazing. It was a transformational moment in my life and in my relationship with him. And I got teary and I said, "You don't know how much that means to me, Dad." And he said, "Pull yourself together," which I thought was, classic Dad. But I realized that he wasn't the person. There was obviously something there, something that needed to be said. That conversation needed to be had, and I'm really grateful for that. But I realized in that moment that he wasn't my mountain. My mountain was my brother. So I felt like I'd just kind of come into the terrain. I'd just come over the foothill just before the mountain. And yes, there was this realization that I would need to have a similar conversation with my brother. And that really scared me at the time. And I didn't want to push myself. I didn't want to, I didn't feel ready. And I wanted to allow myself to process until a time where I felt ready to do this. So just a few days ago, in the middle of the night, I woke up at maybe 3 a.m. and just had the idea of having this conversation with my brother, and leading from a place of saying, I fundamentally don't trust you. And that seemed like that was my in. And it sounds like a mental kind of in, but I didn't intend to start with that, but that was kind of going to be the through line which would help me get to where I wanted to get to with him. So I messaged him the next day and we managed to arrange for a call. And yeah, I had the conversation with him. It started as most conversations do. So he would tell me about what's going on with his kids and what's kind of the general events that have happened since we last spoke. And then I started moving on to what I really wanted to talk about. And I prefaced it all by saying, this isn't me trying to attack you. I really want to try and heal this relationship between the two of us. And to me, this seems like the best way to do it, is to be transparent with you, is to tell you where I'm at. And I don't trust you. And I don't think that I've trusted you for 20 years since you went to university. And there have been a number of times in our lives where I feel like you've sat me down and given me a lecture about how you want me to be in the world and disappointments that you have with the way that I am being in the world and expectations that you have of me and demands that you make of me. I'd always felt, or I'd been telling myself the story rather, that my brother was a dictator, that he would, from my childhood, just continuously tell me what to do. And yeah, I just tried to lay everything out for him as clearly as I could, without trying to put blame on anything, just trying to be objective, trying to say that this was my perception. And that had also stopped me from sharing with him the work which I've been doing for the last 6 months on myself and the business which I'm building. Because I wanted to keep it protected. I knew that my inner child still has desires from his brother. And I didn't want a negative reaction to impact the inner child so much that that would stop me from pursuing my mission. Yeah. And my brother's reaction was amazing. Again, he said that he hadn't been aware of it, that everything that he'd done had been out of love, and I knew that was the case, and that he was a product of his childhood, and again, we all are. And he said that he was my biggest supporter, and he wanted me to achieve everything I wanted to achieve in life. And it was honestly a magical moment, a moment of true healing, and healing a wound that had been built up for probably over 2 decades. No, there's no probably about it. For over 2 decades. And I just felt so light afterwards. And really feel like there's a fresh start now with him. And this links back to action, because all of these things that I've done are actions towards healing those relationships, the relationship with my dad and with my brother. And action can often be uncomfortable. And when we step outside of our comfort zone, that's when we're likely to grow. Because we can't grow in a container that we've already filled. And action is something which I feel I've gotten really fucking good at recently. I have been taking action towards my dreams and towards my mission for, I mean, it's been a building thing over the last 6 months. And now I'm just kind of amazed at the amount of momentum that I've been able to build up by gradually increasing the amount at which I'm willing to do things for myself, take action that will serve my future self. Because I've spent so much time not doing those actions. So it's like there's been this build-up of potential, and now the dam has broken. There's been a tipping point, and everything's flooding over, like creatively. Creatively, a creative dam that's burst open. And yeah, it just, I feel like now I can let go of the wheel. I've built up so much momentum. This thing has got a life of its own. So provided that I just continue and put the reps in, a result will happen. It'll be delayed, but there will be a result. So it's about committing, staying consistent, and taking daily action towards the things which are important to you without expecting immediate gratification. There's this amazing quote by Alex Hormozy, which I love so much, and I may not get quite right because I'm not great quite yet at remembering all of these quotes perfectly. But he says, instead of shouting affirmations in the mirror, create a stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. And boy, does that resonate with me. Because when all of this insecurity arises, when all of this fear arises, when there's imposter syndrome and all things linked to that, and there's this feeling of I'm not good enough, I'm never going to do anything, this is just a false idea that I have, which is all going to eventually crumble and not amount to anything. The thing is that when you have that kind of thinking, it's this negative cycle. So the inner critic is saying all of these things, saying how you're rubbish, how you're not going to achieve anything. And then this comforting part comes in and tries to soothe you and take care of you. So it numbs you out. It makes you watch Netflix and eat rubbish. And then after you've done that for a while, the inner critic pops its head back up again and says, oh, you're watching Netflix, you're eating rubbish, you're destroying your mind and you're destroying your body. And then that loop perpetuates. Whereas now, what I've done, by doing action, by taking action towards my goals daily, again and again, and building up my strength in that, I now have this stack of evidence. I don't have to try and tell myself who I'm supposed to be or who I should be being. Rather, I can see who I am. I do it daily. My actions speak louder than my words. Yeah. It's amazing. Action is the change agent for your life. If you're not satisfied with your current circumstances, you need to take action. You need to do something differently. And maybe that doesn't give you the result that you want, but it will give you a result. And from there, you can take a different action. And from there, maybe you'll get the result you want, maybe you don't. If not, you can take a different action. But if you continue to do the same things that you've always done, you will have the same life that you have. And if that's the life you want, that's great. If it's not the life you want, then start taking action. And that's the video for today. Oh, yeah. I love you. I hope that you're doing amazingly. And yeah, I fucking love me too. I'm amazing and I'm doing amazingly too. So, sending you so much love. Goodbye.